Chapter 17. Followed by an angry mob, the Frenchmen brought their prisoner to the court of first instance in the Palace of Justice. People pushed and shoved one another, trying to get a better view of the proceedings. The air in the room quickly became hot and stale from so many bodies packed into such a modest enclosure. The men placed the rug upright in the middle of the court before the magistrate. A chuckle passed among the prosecutors, advocates, and court reporters. "What is this?" asked the magistrate, not amused. The public prosecutor, a gowned and whiskered gentleman, stood up and said a number of things in which, muffled though the unintelligible words were, Hatter could hear from the confines of the rug. "Où est le prisonnier?" the magistrate asked. The public prosecutor pointed to the rug. Again, the court regulars laughed. With a heavy sigh, the magistrate warned the gentleman not to make a mockery of the court. The prosecutor apologized and explained that he had no intention of doing any such thing, but that the prisoner was a very dangerous man, and the carpet the only means that had been found to subdue him. A man stepped forward and declared that the prisoner possessed violent, otherworldly powers. The gallery of onlookers, none of whom had witnessed the fight on the Rue de Rivoli, came alive with loud assertions of "C'est vrai, c'est vrai!" The magistrate, however, had seen quite the parade of motley life from his perch in court, and merely wondered if he might not treat himself to a little fried mutton along with his usual wedge of brie and bottle of Bordeaux at his favorite café, Le Chien Dyspeptique. "Je voudrais voir le prisonnier," he said. The prosecutor cleared his throat several times and said that, with all due respect, he did not think releasing Hatter from the rug was a good idea. The magistrate huffed and ordered the prosecutor to remove Hatter from the rug, or he would find himself in prison for contempt of court. The rug was laid on the floor. The gallery of onlookers surged, people squeezing forward, sensing that something dramatic was about to happen. They were not mistaken. No sooner was Hatter unrolled from his confinement than he jumped up and thwink! His wrist blades sliced the air, blurry with speed. He grabbed a dagger from his backpack and threw it, skewering a painting on the wall next to the magistrate's head, an action that caused the wise man to hunker down beneath his bench for safety. Before the court police gathered their courage to attempt to recapture, Hatter corkscrewed out the nearest window and landed on the sidewalk at a run. The onlookers crowded at the window, hoping to catch a last glimpse of the mysterious man. The magistrate peeked over his bench to see if his life was still in danger. After surviving such a day, he decided a plate of fried mutton was well deserved. Rumors began to spread about a man with spinning knives on his wrists who appeared out of puddles. With the passing of months and after numerous sightings of Hatter had been reported but never officially proved, the rumors fossilized into legend. Civilians claimed that he could defeat an entire regiment on his own. Military men wondered aloud what more Napoleon might have accomplished if he'd had this man in his ranks. Young boys imagined themselves in his shoes, playing the part of a superhero. In drawing rooms, wealthy, educated ladies and gentlemen put aside their usually reserved manners and attempted to imitate his acrobatic spins and twirls, and even on occasion his somersaults. Maidservants all over France gathered in dim kitchens and told one another romantic stories about the legendary figure with whom they'd fallen in love. A woman must have broken his heart, they imagined, because surely no man would behave as he did for any reason but the suffering of unrequited love. Upon turning in for bed, these lovesick servants left candles burning in their windows, and had Hatter been able to fly over Paris in the middle of the night, he would have seen a sleeping city dotted with these flickering lights of longing, pinpricks of warmth, and the cold dark illuminating the way to women's hearts. But Hatter would have felt anything but deserving, for he was wrestling with an unfamiliar emotion, inadequacy. He had failed to keep his promise to Queen Genevieve. Chapter 18. Alice didn't get along with the other children living at the Foundling Hospital. Children who had seen their share of heartache and sorrow as she had, but who were no less eager to lose themselves in games like jacks, hopscotch, and hide-and-seek. All so silly and immature. Thoughts of Red, about what might have become of Dodge, clouded Alice's head. She couldn't for the life of her muster up any enthusiasm for games. The wardens of Charing Cross took a special interest in her, and this only served to further alienate her from the rest of the orphans. Anyone could see she was going to grow into a beautiful woman. It was thought that her beauty might gain her entry into ranks of society rarely attained by orphans, which could bode well for Charing Cross, leading to donations from wealthy families on the hunt for unearthly beauties of their own. Whenever Alice mentioned Wonderland, she was shushed more harshly than she would have been if the wardens hadn't taken interest in her. "That's all in your head, little miss, and no one will want a daughter who talks rubbish all the time. Unless you want to live here forever, you'll clear your mind of that ridiculous, fantastical stuff." Dr. Williford, the doctor on the staff at Charing Cross, listened patiently to Alice's ridiculous, fantastical stuff. "I'm sure you've had to face things that no young girl should ever have to face," he said. "But you cannot hide in fantasy, Alice. Accept what has happened to you, and know that you are not alone in misfortune. Try to focus on the sights and sounds around you because they are reality. There is still a chance for you to lead a normal, fruitful life." She stopped confiding in Dr. Williford and spent her days staring out a window at a dirty, leaf-strewn courtyard, which was where one of the wardens found her on an afternoon that would yet again change everything. "Alice, I'd like you to say hello to the Reverend and Mrs. Liddell." Alice turned from the greasy window to look at the couple, the woman with the hard eyes and uneasy smile, the doughy man in overcoat and gloves. All strangers were the same to her, strange, far removed, unable to reach her. "She is pretty," Mrs. Liddell said, "but a haircut and a thorough scrubbing are in order, I think." "Quite," said the Reverend. The Liddells lived in Oxford, where the Reverend was Dean of Christ Church College. Nothing happened, it seemed, that didn't bring with it an element of misfortune. No sooner had Alice left Charing Cross than she found herself in circumstances hardly more pleasing. "Not another word," Mrs. Liddell scolded when Alice described the inventor's parade to her new siblings. "Animals cannot talk because they're dumb beasts," she rebuked when Alice claimed otherwise. "Flowers can't sing because they don't have larynxes," she insisted when Alice told of flowers with beautiful voices. "Keep talking nonsense and I'll wash your mouth out with soap." "I'm a princess and I'm waiting for Hatter to come rescue me," Alice said. "You'll see." "Alice, if you want to amount to anything in society," Mrs. Liddell warned, "or at the very least show appreciation for what we've done by welcoming you into our home, you'll stop embarrassing this family and live with your head firmly in this world and do as others do." As punishment, Mrs. Liddell would send Alice to her room, where she had to stay for days, sometimes a whole week at a time. Meals would be brought to her. That suited her perfectly well. It meant she wouldn't have to see them. Wrong. Though she couldn't go out, her new sisters weren't forbidden from visiting, and the second afternoon of one of her confinements, Edith and Lorena marched into the room and sat on Alice's bed, studying her. She tried to ignore them, working very hard to remember every gemstone of Hart Palace, every turn of the heart-shaped passage. Numerous drawings of the palace were tacked to her walls. 14 steps leading from the lower courtyard to the ballroom, 17 bathrooms in total, and "Why don't you draw something else for a change?" Lorena asked her. "Because I don't want to forget where I came from." "Better draw the orphanage, then," Edith shrieked, and she and Lorena ran off laughing. Alice sat with a pencil poised above her drawing. "I shouldn't care what they think. I don't." But their mocking laughter had caused a twinge of what? Embarrassment? Shame? Princesses didn't like to be made fun of any more than ordinary people. Alice pushed the drawing away from her. It would remain forever unfinished. "All right, girls," Miss Prickett. "All right, girls," Miss Prickett, the Liddell's governess, announced. "Seeing as this is Alice's first day at our lessons, let's wish her well and encourage her to work hard." Alice sat at the dining room table with Edith, Lorena, and Rhoda, paper and pencil neatly arrayed in front of her. A blackboard rested atop a sideboard. The words, "Welcome, Alice Liddell," were written on it. "That's not how you spell my name," Alice blurted. Miss Prickett looked at the blackboard, then at Alice. "No, perhaps you'll be kind enough to come up here and show me how to spell it. I'll let it pass this time, Alice, but in the future you are not to speak out. You raise your hand and wait to be called upon." Alice held her head high and stared straight ahead as she walked to the sideboard. At the blackboard, she erased ICE from her name and wrote YSS in its place. Edith, Lorena, and Rhoda erupted with laughter. "That is enough," scolded Miss Prickett. Alice, you will write your name 100 times on the blackboard. Alice. Now begin. So she was struck there in front of them while Miss Prickett began the lesson. Edith, Lorena, and Rhoda peeked around their books at her through one another giggling glances. Alice wanted their hair to fill with wormies, their eyes to seal shut, their laughing tongues to tie into knots. Nothing happened. Useless. White imagination or black, it doesn't matter because I can't conjure. She'd written ALICE 99 times. Miss Prickett wasn't looking. She spelled out ALYSS on the blackboard and started toward her seat. Miss Prickett turned to the board. Just a moment, please. I'm sure you think you're clever, Miss Liddell, but let's see what such cleverness gets you. Wipe the board and start again. Another 100 times. ALICE. Begin. Alice did as she was told, no longer wanting to stand on exhibition. Maybe now you'll remember how to spell your name correctly, Miss Prickett scolded when she'd finished. As she returned to her seat, Lorena whispered, Odd Alice, and the label stuck. It probably didn't help that whenever the children of the family friends thought they'd take a chance and chat with her, Alice filled their ears with talk of Wonderland. She must think she's better than all of us, calling herself a princess, the children huffed. Alice got into fights and traded insults with her tormentors, often returning home scraped, bruised, and humiliated. She tried to shut her ears to it all, but her doubts began to plague her. Can everyone be wrong? She grew tired of persisting in her convictions against the Liddells, their friends, everyone. Is it really possible that every single person I meet is wrong and I'm right? A whole lot easier if I could just forget. Might she have imagined that she'd be a princess in another world? What if I dreamed it up while I was sick in bed? When the simplest and yet most miraculous things happened, she found a friendly ear, or rather, two. They belonged to the Reverend Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, the mathematics lecturer of Christ Church. He was a gentle, shrinking violet type of fellow who lived at the college and sometimes came to the Liddells for tea. An amateur photographer, he took pictures of the girls. Alice posed for him in a corner of a garden wearing a light-colored dress with flared sleeves, white socks, and patent leather shoes. She faced to the right of the camera and smirked at him, shy but proud, as if the two of them shared a secret. But it wasn't until a boating trip to Godstow that she told him about Wonderland. They had stopped for a rest, were lounging on the grass while Edith and Lorena played in the shallows of the River Isis, as that particular stretch of the Thames is called. Don't you want to join your sisters? The Reverend Dodgson asked. Alice no longer bothered explaining to people that she didn't have any sisters. No, she replied. Dodgson thought this a charming answer, but why not? After you've been a princess and had your queendom taken from you, as I have, it's hard to get excited about a mess of fish and weeds in a river. The Reverend Dodgson laughed. Alice, whatever are you talking about? Should I? Will he believe? He does seem different from the others. Should I? One last time? The restraint she'd been under gave way. Memories poured out of her as if they had to be spoken aloud and quickly to convince her of their truth or be forever forgotten. When she mentioned Charles Lutwidge Dodgson began to take notes. Dodgson. He was the boy. The Reverend was flattered to be a part of Alice's dream world. You have the most amazing imagination of anyone I've ever met, he told her. Alice knew better. She hadn't conjured anything in a long time. Let me see if I understand you correctly, Dodgson said. People can travel through looking glasses, enter one and exit from another. Yes, I've tried it here, but none of the glasses work. She watched him jot something in his notebook. Are you really going to write a book about Wonderland, Mr. Dodgson? I think I might. It'll be our book, Alice, yours and mine. The book would prove that she was telling the truth. She would not give up on herself. Not yet.